From now on, you'll transfer your entire salary to Mom's account. You don't get to keep a single penny. And if you ever want money for food, you'll have to kneel and beg us." My brother shouted this across the living room while Mom smirked proudly behind him, arms folded like a queen watching her servant obey. "Hi, everyone, my name is Ava Rowan, I'm 31. And if you think I was about to bow to the same family that once borrowed my savings for emergencies and never paid it back, you're wrong. How far can family go before they become strangers in your own house?" The day started with coffee and ended with a financial ambush. They'd shown up unannounced, waving printed spreadsheets I'd never seen before. Family contribution plan, they called it. "You earn more than us, Ava," Mom said sweetly. "It's only fair we manage your finances. You're terrible with responsibility." I almost laughed. I'd paid off their credit card debt, kept their electricity on, and covered my brother's rent when he lost his job again. Now they wanted my entire paycheck. "Give me your banking app," my brother ordered, holding out his hand. "Right now." I met his stare. "No." The room went still. Even the ceiling fans seemed to stop. Mom's smile dropped. "Don't test us. You know we raised you. We deserve some return." I stood, slow and steady. "You're right," I said softly. "People should get what they deserve." They exchanged a look, victory flashing in their eyes. If only they knew what I meant. Because while they were busy scheming, I'd already set up something that would make them kneel. And when the first alert hit their phones later that night, the smirk on Mom's face would finally disappear. That evening, I sat at my desk scrolling through the last few months of transactions, every transfer, every bill, every small loan labeled as temporary help. Over $47,000 had quietly vanished into their accounts in 2 years. My phone buzzed with another message from Mom. "You'll thank us later, sweetheart. We're teaching you discipline." Discipline. That word made my stomach twist. I opened my work laptop and logged into the financial portal I designed for my company's digital security division. They didn't know my role wasn't just assistant. I was the lead systems analyst, the person who could trace, encrypt, and lock down anything connected to an account, even theirs. By midnight, I'd rerouted my salary into a new trust account under my foundation's name. Only I had access. Then, I froze all secondary authorizations linked to their devices, the same ones I'd set up years ago out of trust. Next came the surprise. I drafted an automatic alert through the bank's fraud department. Any attempt to withdraw funds from my old joint account would trigger an investigation. It wasn't revenge. It was protection. At 6:32 a.m., my phone buzzed with chaos. First, Mom's text. "Ava, something's wrong with the bank. None of the cards work." Then my brother. "Did you mess with the accounts? Fix it now." I poured myself coffee, humming softly. By the time they showed up banging on my door, I was already dressed for work, calm, collected, untouchable. When I opened the door, Mom's voice cracked with fury. "What did you do?" I smiled. "You told me to give everything to the family." I did. I just made sure the definition of family was updated. They pushed past me into the living room like they still owned the place. My brother threw his phone on the couch, the banking app opened to a bright red warning banner. "Account under fraud review." "What the hell did you do, Ava?" he barked. I sipped my coffee. Protected myself. Mom's eyes were wide with disbelief. "You froze our accounts? How dare you?" "That money kept this family afloat." I tilted my head. "You mean my money?" She flinched but didn't back down. "We're your parents. You owe us." That word, "oh," finally broke something inside me. Years of quiet obedience, endless sacrifice, invisible gratitude, all of it condensed into one sharp breath. "You owe me," I said quietly. "For every loan I never called back. For every night I paid bills you pretended didn't exist. For pretending love was a transaction." My brother laughed coldly. "You think this makes you powerful? You've just started a war you can't win." "Maybe," I said, reaching for my phone. "But I've already won the part that matters." On cue, a chime echoed from his phone. His face blanched as he read the message. Fraudulent activity confirmed. Federal hold initiated. Please contact your branch immediately. I'd filed the report using my own credentials as a verified systems analyst. The hold was airtight. You can't do this, Mom shouted, voice trembling now. I already did, I replied, calm as glass. They stormed out moments later, slamming the door so hard the picture frame rattled on the wall. I didn't chase them. I just looked at the empty space they'd left behind and whispered, boundaries aren't cruelty, they're survival. And this time I was done being their safety net. For 2 days, silence. Then, like clockwork, the guilt campaign began. First came Mom's text. We didn't mean to upset you, Ava. Family just needs to share. You're being dramatic. Then my brother called, voice dripping with false calm. I can fix this if you just send me your login again. You've made things worse for everyone. I muted both of them. By Friday, my aunt messaged me, clearly recruited for damage control. Sweetheart, your mom's worried sick. She says you're overreacting. Overreacting. The word they'd used all my life when I refused to be manipulated. That evening, I stopped by my office. The security cameras caught my reflection in the glass doors, sharp, steady, no longer scared. My coworker Janelle peeked out from her cubicle. Hey, you look like someone who just got promoted. I smiled faintly. Maybe I promoted myself. In truth, my department head had just approved my proposal to lead a new project, financial fraud protection for women affected by family exploitation. The irony wasn't lost on me. At 9 p.m., my phone buzzed again, Mom. This time voice message. You've ruined everything. The mortgage, the bills, your brother's tuition, all frozen because of you. Do you feel powerful now? I played it twice, not out of guilt, but clarity. They had built their comfort on my silence. I wasn't silent anymore. I opened my laptop, logged into my foundation account, and transferred the first donation, $10,000, to a support fund for women escaping financial abuse. When the confirmation email arrived, I leaned back in my chair, a calm smile spreading across my face. They wanted control. I built legacy. They wanted my obedience. I gave them consequences. And this was just the beginning. By the next week, my story had spread through our extended family like wildfire, except this time, I controlled the narrative. My aunt called again, her voice suddenly softer. Ava, sweetheart, your mother's just under stress. You know how families are. Do you mean families that drain their kids dry, or the ones that call it love? I asked calmly. She didn't have an answer. At work, my project hit the front page of our company newsletter. Employee Initiative helps dozens reclaim financial freedom. The same system that caught my family's tricks was now helping hundreds of women. My boss stopped by my desk, smiling. You've turned personal pain into public progress, Ava. That's leadership. I thanked him, but my mind was elsewhere. I'd received a court notice earlier that morning. Mom had filed a complaint claiming elder neglect. My jaw clenched until I read the judge's signature. Dismissed within 24 hours. The reason? Every financial record showed I'd supported them for years, down to the last electric bill. By that evening, my brother sent one last text. We lost everything because of you. I stared at the screen, then typed back. No. You lost access, not everything. There's a difference. I turned off my phone and stepped out onto my apartment balcony. Below, the city glowed, alive, unbothered, mine. That night, I wrote a note to myself. Stop trying to save people who enjoy drowning. I folded it neatly and taped it inside my closet door, a quiet reminder that peace often costs less than forgiveness. And for the first time, I didn't feel guilty for choosing myself. The silence that followed was the best sound I'd ever heard. Weeks went by without a single message, no guilt trips, no fake apologies, just quiet. It gave me space to breathe and build. The nonprofit division of my project launched officially that month. We named it Balance Forward, dedicated to helping women protect their income from family exploitation. My inbox filled with stories like mine, teachers, nurses, designers, all drained by relatives who called Control love. At the launch event, a reporter asked, "What made you start this, Ava?" I smiled. Someone once told me I wasn't responsible enough to handle my own money. I decided to prove them right by handling everyone else's better. The audience laughed softly, but behind that laughter was solidarity. That night, when I came home, an envelope was waiting under my door. No return address. Inside was a single folded paper, a faded family photo of me, Mom, and my brother at a picnic from years ago. On the back, in Mom's handwriting, "We just wanted to feel secure. Maybe we went too far." For a moment, the air felt heavy, like grief, not anger. I sat quietly, then tore the photo in half, not out of rage, but release. Some relationships don't need closure. They just need to stop taking space in your life. I burned the paper in a small dish on my balcony, watching the ashes swirl into the night sky. When the last ember faded, I whispered, "Goodbye, for real this time." The next morning, I transferred another donation from my foundation, this time in Mom's name. It wasn't forgiveness. It was peace on my terms. Months later, I was invited to speak at a financial empowerment conference in San Francisco. The theme was reclaiming control. The irony wasn't lost on me. Standing backstage, I took a deep breath, adjusting the mic clip to my blazer. I could almost hear my mother's voice echoing from years ago, "Ava, you're too emotional to handle business." I smiled at the memory. She had no idea she was training me for this. When I stepped on stage, the applause hit me like sunlight. I told them my story, not as a victim, but as proof that you can rebuild even after your own family burns the bridge. The room was silent when I said, "Control disguised as love is still control." Afterward, a young woman approached me, tears in her eyes. I thought I was the only one. "You're not," I told her. "And you never were." Her name was Jasmine, a single mother whose parents had stolen her savings under the promise of helping her budget. I helped her file the paperwork to secure her assets that same week. It hit me then. My pain had turned into purpose. That evening, I sat in my hotel room, looking out over the glowing skyline. My phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. "We saw you on the news. We're proud of you." No name, but I didn't need one. I knew it was Mom. For the first time, I didn't feel anger or satisfaction, just understanding. Sometimes people change too late. Sometimes they just change enough to let you move on. Either way, I finally had peace. A year later, I stood inside the New Balance Forward headquarters, a glass front office filled with light, laughter, and second chances. The walls were covered with framed letters from women who'd rebuilt their lives, each one a quiet testament to what happens when control ends and freedom begins. Jasmine now worked beside me as program coordinator. "We just got approved for expansion," she said, her grin wide. "Seattle, Chicago, maybe even DC." I smiled, flipping through the proposal. "We'll reach more people than we ever thought possible." "Your story started it all," she said softly. I looked up at her. "No, our stories did." That night, after the team left, I lingered alone in the office. The city lights shimmered through the glass, and my reflection stared back. Not the frightened woman from a year ago, but someone grounded, steady, whole. My phone buzzed. A bank alert. Automatic transfer successful. $15,000 donation sent to Women's Education Fund. I'd made it a habit now. Each time I remembered pain, I turned it into purpose. I poured a cup of tea, stepped out onto the balcony, and let the cool night air brush against my face. In the distance, a familiar figure crossed the street. My mother. She glanced up, saw me, hesitated. Then she smiled, small, uncertain, but real, before walking on. I didn't wave. I didn't need to. Some goodbyes are better left silent. I turned back toward the glowing sign on the wall. Balance forward, protect. Heal. Rebuild. For the first time in my life, I understood the word family. It wasn't about blood or obligation. It was about who stood beside you when you stopped begging to be seen. And finally, I had found mine.
gặp cái này là cuốn nó trong nó phải làm cái cuốn dẻo bên này chứ không để mà nơi cao